Awesome. Okay, tell me, Brijesh, how do you think the interview went?
Threw me off at a few places. I
Okay,
think
okay.
I mean, that one cat percentile part, I felt like I just went a little overboard on.
Right, right, right. I think yeah, that was something funny you said there. I remember I noted down that as well. Uh, you said, yeah, I mean, you brought up the ZAT score, which was good. I think that was quite interesting. You tried to like divert, and then you started saying stuff like,
I walked
I
in
don't know
with a
what.
free mind, and I was able to score better.
No, I
And
think you spoke about cat as well, right? It's not a good sort of. I don't think it's a good.
it uh, it doesn't
Uh,
represent the best of my
doesn't reflect my
abilities.
ability. And something towards the end where you said that Zat is better than Cat or something like that. There was some answer there where I was like, calm down, don't say such things. No, but it's okay, it's okay. Those are minor things. See, Brijesh, I think overall the interview was fine, right? Oh, it actually went well. Don't worry, I was deliberately trying to corner you because the reason is you've sort of given some interviews, right? So I
So
wanted you to have an experience where there's a little bit of pressure, right? So that's so that you can get used to it.
yes,
And if that happens in an actual interview, you'll be able to handle it better. I think you handled it quite well. One thing that I really like about you is there was this sort of you smiled your way throughout the interview, right? Which was like you were being calm, you were composed, and there were things that you weren't able to answer, but I think you handled it with a smile, and that is a good thing, right? Because that will help you establish a connection with the panel,
so
right? Of course, there'll be panel members who will be extremely serious and all of that. So, what I would suggest is I like this approach that you have of sort of like, smiling and, just trying to establish a connection with the panel. You should definitely stick to this. But that said, if you notice that the panel members are being extremely serious, then tone it down a bit.
yes, sir.
So this decision you'll have to make on the fly,
Yes, sir.
right? I like this approach. I would suggest definitely maintain it, right? Start with this, okay? But of course, if you see that, okay, there are panel members who are serious and very sort of like stiff, then dial it down a little bit,
Yes, sir.
okay? But don't get rid of it completely because I think it's a great sort of way that you can establish that connection,
Yes, sir.
right? And that is very important in a personal interview, right?
Yes, sir.
If you can if you can build a connection, if you can build a rapport, and they sort of like your personality, immediately they'll have positive biases in their mind, which is always good,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so that and overall, I think the interview went quite well. Um, just a few suggestions, and we'll go question by question. So,
Yes,
for
sir.
instance, in your introduction, drop in a line about your academics. Okay, don't completely sort of skip that section because then it seems quite obvious what
Yes,
you're
sir.
trying to do, right? So drop in just one line that you've
Yes,
done your BSc in math, computer science, and electronics
yes,
from
sir.
whichever college. That's it. You don't have to elaborate anything on that,
Yes, sir.
right? Of course, focus on your work experience and the company bit and all of that. But
Yes, sir.
one line about your academics is important.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If they come up with academic questions, right, which sometimes they're weird, in spite of 4 years, they can take you back to academics. What you told me was perfect. Say it with a smile that, sir, it's been 4 years, right? I don't remember most of it. But as you said, maths is something that I'm good at or something. Just pick a few topics and give them that. And but say it upfront that it's been 4 years and you've lost touch, and say it with a smile, and that's perfectly fine. If
Yes,
they go into that, they start going in that direction,
yes,
right?
sir.
So set those expectations right up front when they start talking about academics, so that they hopefully they'll go a bit easy on that.
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay. Now, one thing that I wanted to talk to you about is in your when we were having that pre-interview discussion, you said that business intelligence is such a broad field, so that's why people take you in different directions in the interview, right? What I was thinking is, in your introduction, do you think that if you can talk a little bit about your role,
Okay.
right? Will that help in setting the expectations about what you do?
Yes, so the only thing is, I feel like my tell me about yourself is pretty lengthy, and
Yeah.
I keep not toning it down. And what I thought was I'd focus more on that incorporating stuff, and less on the work experience, because it would add a little bit of flavor to the interview. But in my last two interviews, they did not even care about my startup or anything at all.
Right. No, I know what you mean. And the thing is, see, I get where you're coming from, right? The whole company bit and stuff. But my only thing is, see, you you weren't able to launch this company due to a number of reasons, right? And the planning and a little bit of execution phase lasted 6 months. So do you think this effort was significant enough or concrete enough to bring up in an interview proactively? I'm just
The
asking you. I'm not denying that it's not concrete. I'm just discussing it with you.
I mean, the I mean, it did not go to a certain point the way with
Right.
the place where we wanted it to go, but the amount of effort that we had put in was tremendous, or
Significant.
as in it was significant with respect to a
Right.
lot of things, as in
Right.
calling a lot of people, setting up meetings, and then meeting them, being able to make them agree, get a consent, and then go on and create packaging and stuff. And before
Right.
that, we had also hands-on other plans as well. I don't usually mention that. I wanted to keep it a little crisp. Even then, I feel like I talk a lot. Uh,
Right. Okay. Got it. So let's talk more about that, and then we can finalize it.
yes,
But
sir.
but going back to your profile, right? The business intelligence developer, because they have taken you in different directions, since you seem to have struggled with that aspect, right? I would drop in a line in your introduction about what you do,
Yes, sir.
uh, one or two lines about your profile
Yes, sir.
proactively, so that that expectation is kind of set with the
Yes,
panel. Okay, this is what you do, right? And because just by saying business intelligence developer, again, it's a very broad term, then they'll take you in different directions. And then those points like, oh, but you're a business intelligence developer, you should know this, you should know that, all of that comes up, which is unfair. So drop in a couple of lines so that we
yes,
can
sir.
streamline it a little bit.
Yes, sir. I'll narrow it down. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a couple of lines. Again, not we obviously we're not going to go into details,
Yes,
but a
sir.
couple of lines should help. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about the company, right? So you said that you incorporated a company, did not fare well
Yes, sir.
due to different reasons, and that's one of the reasons you want to do an MBA. You mentioned
Yes,
that line as well, right?
yes, sir.
I would say don't mention that, right? Say that you did you actually incorporate the company? Was the company incorporated?
Yes, sir.
It
It is.
was.
It
It
is.
was.
I mean, all the process was done, sir. As in, if you
All
Google it,
okay.
it's there.
Oh, great. Okay. Just that you weren't able to launch it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Interesting. No, but that's a good point. Yeah. So maybe say, Brijesh, that you incorporated a company,
Yes, sir.
right? Sorry, what did you say? Can you repeat? Can you repeat the lines that you told me in the introduction?
Yes, sir. A couple years back, I had incorporated a company.
Right.
Uh, and we did not expect it to I mean, it did not go the way we expected it to go in I'm sorry, sir, I'm not able to get the exact same thing, but
That's
yeah,
okay. That's
on
fine.
of that sort, sir, in the direction that we wanted it to move. And in retrospection, I thought an MBA would help me gain a lot of expertise and being able to incorporate a company in the future.
Okay. I think that's fine. You can stick to that.
Yes,
I know we're bringing in the YMBA in your introduction, but that's okay. You typically, I tell candidates not to mix these two things, but it makes sense in your situation, right?
yes, sir.
It's fine. So then you can sort of talk more about it in your YMBA, saying, I think I lacked the knowledge, because of which, our company we weren't able to launch it.
Yes,
And that's the reason I want to do an MBA, and you can elaborate it in your YMBA. So this is fine. So mention that. So okay, so let's look at the different aspects then. You spoke about your profile at ANZ and that you've been there for 4 years. You spoke about chess. You
yes, sir.
spoke about your incorporating the company,
Yes,
and
sir.
those were the elements, right?
I said I spoke a little bit about my family. Dad is retired and mom's a housewife, and I take care of the expenses at home.
Yes, that's a good point. I think that's a good point that you brought up. Just shows responsibility. Anything else that you mentioned?
And guitar. I play guitar as a hobby. Yeah.
Right. So I don't think this is long. I think this is fine. Even after including the line on academics and the profile, sort of like a couple of lines about the profile, I think this is good enough.
Yes, sir.
I don't think you need to trim it down further.
Yes, sir.
This is good, right? Okay, perfect. Great. So that sort of takes care of the introduction. Then we spoke about your company or your bank, right? ANZ. I actually brought up a few aspects because in one of my roles, so I was sort of in a digital marketing role. I used to work for Google. I quit last year, so I was there for about 12 years. I was an account manager and a campaign manager for ANZ. So ANZ was one of my clients in the portfolio that I handled. So I used to handle their digital marketing, not only for ANZ, but for the big four in Australia. Right.
Okay.
So when I saw ANZ, I was like, okay, this is interesting. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the different revenue streams and stuff. I think you handled it pretty well. I would just go one step further when you have some time before your interviews. Just read up a little bit about major revenue streams. What type of loan is the major driver? It should be home loans, right? Because of the interest rates primarily, and you said volume of loans and stuff.
That was a proper guess, sir.
Yeah, I know. I could make that out. I could make out that you're sort of guessing with that. And I think the stock price also. I actually checked the stock price. It's about 29.10 AUD, right? So
I said 150.
Yeah, just get your facts right. Okay. The whole rationale is that, if you are doing an MBA, you're going to learn about companies and businesses, right? So some of the panels can sort of expect you to know about your company really well. Okay. So just read up about that, major revenue streams from a business perspective, right? So performance last year, profit, revenue, COVID impact, major revenue streams, home loan should be the major one. Just check that. Okay. And stock price and stuff. Also look at the stock price trend in the last 12 months and if there were any major sort of highs and lows. Okay? So in general, just read up about ANZ more, right? You should know about your company. Okay. You knew quite a bit, but just go one step further.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Now, when we spoke about the top 2 achievements, you didn't proactively bring up your promotion. Was there a reason why you didn't bring that up?
So there was no reason for why I did not bring that up, but I thought in the intro I said senior business intelligence developer, right? So I thought it was like
right. So if they specifically ask you about achievements, talk about the promotion.
Yes.
Right, because especially your promotion was a fast track promotion, right?
Yes, sir.
It was the tenure was less than the average tenure that is required for the promotion. So, so definitely you should highlight that achievement.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you want, you can even drop in a line about it in your introduction.
Yes, sir.
That you joined as a business developer or whatever that was, and then in 1.5 years you got promoted to senior business developer.
Yes, sir.
You can talk about that, right? And generally, the achievements was fine. Generally, the route that we take with achievements is if they talk about it, you can explain what your achievement was. So if it's a particular project, and then you focus on 2 things. You focus on the complexity,
yes,
right?
Sir.
Why was it complex, and you focus on the impact.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and explain it in a way where even a layman should be able to understand what you're talking about. Okay,
yes, sir.
So what I would suggest is watch your recording,
yes,
that particular section specifically, and see if there is any way you can, maybe simplify it and focus more on the complexity and impact.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I think you did talk about impact in both the cases.
Yes,
but just watch it and see if you can improve it.
Yes,
right? Okay. Now let's talk about why MBA. Okay. Your answer was fine. I got a little confused the way you began. So you started talking about, you're a developer, but you sort of want to get into the analysis,
business,
sort of you want to be an analyst, and then you sort of went on to talking about entrepreneurship. That connection was a little unclear to me.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about that. So basically, your reasoning was that you want to become an entrepreneur down the line,
Yes, sir.
okay, and that's why you want to do an MBA, so that you can sort of learn about the space completely, which will help you in your entrepreneurial initiatives down the line.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you were relating it to your company as well,
I
right?
mean, I wanted to draw a story from how I wanted to create a business in the first place, and then connect
Yes.
that to how I wanted to do it in the
That's a good
future.
story.
Yes,
That's a
sir.
good story. The only part that I didn't understand was the analyst
Analyst.
bit.
Yes, sir. I'll drop that. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
I'll
You
reframe it.
get my point, right? You
Yes,
get
sir.
my point.
Yes, sir.
I think that's not required,
Yes,
right?
sir.
I would use the story that, hey, you know what, we incorporated a company
Yes,
around
sir.
2 years ago or whatever that was. We put in a lot of effort. The idea, we had the idea, we sort of went to the stage of incorporating it and signing agreements, but then we weren't able to kick it off, or we weren't able to launch it because of these reasons, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, in hindsight, when I look at that experience, I clearly lacked the business knowledge and acumen, right, to successfully launch a business.
Yes, sir.
I still have those ambitions. I want to become an entrepreneur in future, but I want to be completely prepared, right, in the space before I pursue that ambition again. And that's where an MBA comes into the picture, right?
Yes,
A
sir.
2 year sort of intense, rigorous program will give you exposure to all the key business concepts, right?
Yes, sir.
You will understand how businesses work, how companies function, and then it'll completely arm you to sort of have a successful entrepreneurial initiative down the line,
Yes, sir.
right? So I like this story. I think it's a very good story. But yeah, drop the analyst bit, start with your
Yes, sir.
company, why it failed, and
Yes,
take
sir.
ownership, saying you lack the acumen and knowledge,
Yes,
which
sir.
is what an MBA will give you. And then down the line, you want to start it again. You still have ambitions, entrepreneurial ambitions, and you'll be successful based on this particular knowledge,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Be very clear in your when you're explaining this, that this entrepreneurship is a long-term plan for you.
Yes, sir.
The reason why I'm saying this is because if you say that this is sort of like a short-term plan, they'll start grilling you on that.
Yes, sir.
What's the business idea? Do you have a business plan? This, that. Like the moment they hear entrepreneurship, they tend to grill a lot.
Yes, sir.
So if you say that this is like 7 years, 10 years down the line,
Yes, sir.
it's good enough, right? Yeah, I think that's a good answer
Yes,
for YBA. It's a pretty sort of strong answer. Anything else, like are you sort of like inspired by anyone in your social circle, or in your like seniors or people that you work with at ANZ who have done MBAs? Are you sort of inspired by anyone?
No, sir.
Not really.
No, sir.
Okay. Are you someone who thrives in an academic environment? Do you like academics?
Yes.
Do you like sort of studying in a classroom?
Yes, sir. I do. I love to be sitting in a classroom, but my previous college wasn't of like the top-notch college or anything. It was a decent college. I mean, for BSc, it was a really good college, but the peer and it was kind of a party gang and everything. So that I didn't have that rigor, the kind of motivation that I had. I didn't feel along with my peers. So I want to be in that environment where I'd be, pushed to be able to go off the limits of what I can possibly do.
Great. So this can be your first story, the story that we discussed. Can be your main part of the answer. And secondly, what you can mention is that you've been working for 4 years, right? And it's been a great learning experience. But you're looking forward to getting back to academics, right?
Okay.
Because you're someone that that learns very well in a classroom environment. You enjoy that kind of setting, the academic setting, the classroom environment, right? So you're looking forward to hopefully you'll get a seat in a good MBA college, which will give you that great full academic experience where you can absorb all these concepts, learn from the professors, learn from the peer group, and then sort of after that get back to the corporate world, or get back to working. So frame it like that it's
Yes,
3-4 years for you, and you're just excited about this prospect of getting back to academics, because you are someone who learns very well in this type of environment.
Yes, sir.
Right. The reason why we're bringing this up is because at the end of the day, these are professors, right? So if you say that, hey, I enjoy that, that's always a plus with professors.
Okay. Yes,
right?
sir.
So bring in that angle. That's good. I think we can talk about we can mention that. So you have two reasons there: the first story and then the your academics. Okay. Biggest mistakes. Yeah, I think it's fine. Whenever they talk about mistakes, the general advice that I give everyone is, if they ask you about mistakes, challenges, or weaknesses, always acknowledge your bit first.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Right? Just follow this principle, right? Like before you bring in any kind of external factor,
Yes, sir.
acknowledge your bit, right?
Yes, sir.
Whether it's lack of effort or skills or whatever, and then you can bring in the external factor as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yeah, if they ask you, why wasn't your business successful, acknowledge it. That,
Yes.
we did put in effort. We put in a significant amount of effort. It's important to highlight that. But we weren't prepared in the sense that we didn't have the knowledge and skills that were required to successfully sort of launch a business.
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay. Great. Now, career plans post MBA. Now, Brijesh, if you're mentioning consulting, you will have to read up about consulting, right? Because I'll tell you why consulting. I have done probably 60 plus mock interviews this season. 70% to 80% of the people mention consulting, right? And then the questions start, right? Okay, fine. You like consulting? Tell me what you know about consulting, right? What are the top companies? Give me a few project examples. And it's not just you. Most of them were not able to answer it. Okay. So what I would suggest is, if you're going that route, what you can do is you can cushion yourself by saying that you're leaning towards it or you're inclined. Say that, it's fluid, right? MBA is such a vast field. You're looking forward to learning about different aspects of it. So, your career plans might change. But at this point in time, yes, consulting is something that you're
looking forward to,
right? So say that, cushion it by that. Say, give them an impression that you are inclined towards it, but you haven't sort of made up your mind.
Yes,
right? Again, to avoid sort of questioning, and then read up about consulting.
Yes,
right. So what I would say is, different types of consulting. The top consulting companies, go to those companies, pick a few projects, and get an idea of the kind of projects that they handle.
okay.
Right. So whether you're talking about management consulting or financial consulting or IT consulting, whatever that is, just get a bit of an idea about that. Right. And specialization also, I think you said you're leaning towards finance. So set that expectation.
Yes, sir.
Say that, you're sort of keeping your mind very open and you're very excited about learning about different specializations. So you'll be able to take this decision better in second year. But yeah, at this point in time, because you're from the banking sector, you're leaning towards finance right now,
yes, sir.
Or you're slightly inclined towards it.
Yes.
Okay, right. Great. So great. And the CAT quant score and all that discussion, if that comes up again, don't blame the exam. Okay,
so I
don't do that, especially.
I did acknowledge that it was because of me, but then because of the stress factor. But when I had an open mind, I was able to.
Yes, absolutely. So just acknowledge your bit, right? In these situations, it's always best to acknowledge your bit, yes. Right, and say that I messed it up. It was my mistake. In hindsight, I think I could have done better. So highlight your potential as well. And yes, don't sort of get into that CAT-XAT comparison or anything about CAT, especially if you're going for an IM.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's not the most strategic thing to do. All right. Yeah. And then we spoke about current affairs. I think elections and stuff was fine. Just get a little bit of flavor about Tamil Nadu's contribution to India's GDP, economy drivers and stuff like that. Those questions can come up.
Yes,
right? It is actually, I think, one of the top 3 states as far as contribution to GDP is concerned, I think. And the economy drivers, whether it's agriculture, services, whatever that is, just get an idea about that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Again, in terms of factual questions, these questions keep coming up. Lok Sabha seat share, Rajya Sabha seat share, and stuff like that. Just get a bit of an idea about that as well.
Yes, sir. All that I've read about.
Perfect. And the budget impact on Tamil Nadu, are you ready with that?
Yes, the budget impact, as in there is a
couple of aspects.
Yeah, the road, the huge infrastructure for the road.
Right.
I think that is a major.
There was some other. There was Seaweed Park as well.
Yeah, right? Seaweed Park.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, current affairs. What I tell people is, you have your national and international issues. So you have your US elections, India-China standoff, etc. then current affairs surrounding your location,
Yes, sir.
and current affairs surrounding your domain.
Yes, sir.
Right? So that's the best way to prepare for it. Okay. All right. I am Kozhikode, especially get specifics.
Yes,
Do
sir.
your research.
Yes, sir.
Think about it. If you go to a company today for an interview, you will research about the company, right?
Yes, sir.
So similarly, please research about I am Kozhikode and especially the top institutions. Get some good sort of concrete stuff, and then this is your chance to tell them how excited you are about their college, right? So boost their ego, make them feel good. It's a good thing, right? Yeah, and no questions for the panel is absolutely fine. You don't need to have a question.
I wanted to ask one question,
Sure.
but I'm not sure
Yeah.
whether, if given an opportunity, would you stick to the CAT process, or would you be inclined towards having the whole GMAT process or something of that sort? Technically towards an MBA admission.
I would skip it. I would skip it. I would skip it. Yeah. It's a tricky one. And with questions, right? Even if there's a shade of doubt, I tell students to skip the question completely, right? Because if the interview is going well, you don't want to mess it up at the end by sort of pressing a wrong button or asking. And with IIMs, with professors, they can be quite rigid at times. They can take it in the wrong way and stuff like that. Don't bring it up.
Yes, sir.
It's not a bad question, but you never know, man. With professors, you can't be sure. So better not to bring it up. Okay. No questions is fine. It's absolutely fine, right? Typically nowadays, they don't even have the time to get into that. So,
yes, sir.
Yeah, if you find something in your IIM Kozhikode research or any college research, if there's something specific that comes up, academic, curricular related, you can ask them more about it, right?
Yes, sir.
For instance, IIM Ahmedabad, I know there's some kind of startup club where they get funding for their students. So people, ask about that club who have entrepreneurial ambitions. So something, if IIM Kozhikode has something like that, you can link it to experience. You can ask about that.
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay.